The National Museum of Funeral History presents The Final Curtain Never Closes. I'm your host, Genevieve Keeney Vasquez, the president and CEO of the museum. Today, I am joined by a very fascinating guest and so honored to be in her presence. Kathy Beasley is with the Institute for Spirituality and Health's Center for Aging and End of Life. Kathy, welcome.
Thank you so much.
That's such a long title. So I'm sure, though, that what you do there is not only important, but very maybe specific?
It is specific. It's a place that we discovered, a friend of mine, back probably 6 years ago, or more actually, that is just an amazing place where people come together and they discuss things that are difficult for people to talk about, the end of life sort of scenarios that we all go through.
So do I have to be diagnosed with a terminal illness that basically is saying your life is beginning to end to come to this center and talk about it? Or if I have a fear of what my end of life might look like, can I be a guest to come?
We welcome everybody. We welcome people that are curious. We welcome people that have lost a loved one. We welcome people that are ill. We welcome people that serve in the healthcare industry. We welcome everyone to come because we all will go through this process at some point in our lives. And the location of the Institute is right down the street from the medical center. And in that medical center, you have thousands and thousands of people that are resuscitated, that come back from terrible illnesses when they're healed by the doctors or by their own bodies at some point. And we felt like our group needed to address that.
So your group not only addresses the fears that one may experience during getting, I should say, the fears that they begin to adopt when they learn that they have a terminal illness, but perhaps the whole process that they go through in that illness when they think they're facing death. They might have a paranormal experience during that terminal illness, or they may have died and come back to life?
Yes. As a matter of fact, that's how I got started with this whole topic. Was I had an illness, and it was a meningioma, which is a form of a brain tumor. But it's not an invasive brain tumor. It's something that is part of the lining of the brain that is like a big grape or a lemon that presses into your brain and compromises your tissue, your brain tissue, and creates cognitive impairments for you. Makes you slow, makes you fatigued. You have difficulties functioning. And I went through that whole process and came out the other end and had a very transformative experience during that time. And it's a bit unsettling. And you look for places, you look for people that help you ground yourself, re-ground yourself.
I really like how you express that and put that out, that you're looking for a way to re-ground yourself. And I think that's an important element in life that I think so many times that when we have a personal experience that affects us so deeply, that it does. It shakes the very ground that we exist upon and that we've come to know and feel comfortable in, and something in our life shakes it up. It's really hard to find people that have experienced that same type of life-altering earthquake, if you will.
Yes. I was living in Missouri at the time, and I don't remember exactly how I found this group, but they were in St. Louis, and it was a group of near-death experiencers, which I was one of at that point in time, and they were getting together, and I thought, well, I need to go somewhere where other people understand what I'm talking about, because you can scare people.
Oh, yes.
Talking about it. You can run up to them, tell them what happened to you, and you'd be so excited, and they'll run from you.
Yeah, it's interesting that you use the word excited, right?
Yes.
In the context of what we're talking about, which is end of life. Yeah, almost dying. Yeah. So can you elaborate on that excitement? Why did you say that it's exciting?
Well, it's beyond anything you've ever experienced. In my personal experience, what happened to me was I just had this experience where I went to this very, very dark place, and I was terrified in the beginning. And then as the process happened, I was filled with this unbelievable, unconditional love that more than any love you have for a child, a spouse, a mother, a father. I mean, it just fills you with something that you never knew existed before.
So can you help us understand the timeline from the time you were diagnosed to the time you entered that dark space? What's that length of time that transpired? And were there were you having tests? Did you have a surgical procedure already? What led up to that dark space?
Well, a lot of near-death experiences are very quick because they're an accident or an event or a heart attack or something like that. Mine was extremely slow.
Wow.
Like watching grass grow. And it took years for me to get it diagnosed. I had some of it when I was probably in my early 20s, and I wasn't diagnosed till I was 48.
Oh, wow.
But the thing that brought it to light was that I had some vision problems.
So did you exist in this dark space during that 20-year span?
Well, I was functional, but day by day, I became less functional. And it was imperceptible. Towards the end, I was really struggling, and I was starting to have what I would call sleep disturbances. And it was very hard to talk to anybody about it because I was afraid to talk to anybody about it because I thought they would not understand, or I knew they wouldn't be able to relate. But basically what was happening was I would go to bed at night, and as the tumor became worse, when I would sleep at night, I would lay my head on my pillow, and at some point during the night, I would feel like that I was separating from my body.
Wow.
And it happened over and over and over again. And I thought that, it was very strange what was happening, and I didn't understand it, but I didn't really have anybody to talk to about it. I didn't tell my husband
And by
about
this
it.
time, you'd already seen several medical professionals, correct?
At some point along the way, yes, I did, because I believe I was having the out-of-body experiences right before I was diagnosed, and then, of course, definitely afterwards as I went closer to my surgery. But what was happening was that the doctors diagnosed me, but it took them 3 years to diagnose me.
Wow. Did at any one of these moments of out-of-body experiences, did any of them perhaps kind of give you clues of what might be going on, or kind of point you in a direction to talk to the doctors about?
Well, the one thing that did happen, and I called it a warning dream. I used to have a warning dream that I needed to do something before I went in to see the doctors. And I would see myself in a coffin, and my body was deteriorated, and I would wake up and go, "Oh, that was a horrible dream. I wonder if I need to do something. I'm having these out-of-body experiences, and now I'm having these warning dreams. So what should I do?" Well, I went to the doctor, and I told them that I was losing light in my left eye. And then they said, "Well, that's probably normal. It's just the way your body works." Well, I went back the next year and said, "Not only am I losing light, I'm losing color." And then they said, "Well, nothing to worry about. You're just getting older."
Did you ever go to ophthalmologist at the time and to see what might be going on in your eye itself?
I was an ophthalmologist.
Oh, that was the ophthalmologist. Thank you for clarifying that. Okay.
So I went the third year, and I actually had more issues at that point in time, and I was not going to leave the office until they did something for me. I was going to, demand that something be done. Well, that doctor was gone. Somebody else saw me in his place, and they immediately sent me to have an MRI. And so I had the MRI. The tumor lit up like a Christmas ornament inside my head. And my husband actually worked in radiology.
Oh, wow, fascinating.
He's a medical physicist. So he walked me through the whole process, and when I walked out of the MRI room, everybody was awfully quiet, and I knew something was up, and so they took me into the room and they showed me the mass.
And at that time, what size was it?
A little bigger than a golf ball.
Okay, wow.
And what it was doing, it was pressing on my carotid artery. It was, just causing havoc, structural havoc inside my brain. But this whole thing is what got me interested.
Yeah, it was, some people might call it like a sixth sense, right? Because we have, that is a form of existence to kind of let us know something's not right, and we need to start listening to that sixth sense. And then
Yes.
if we don't hear what the sixth sense is trying to say loud enough, then that perhaps it begins to play out in other ways, like your dreams.
Yeah, so my entire experience was very slow. It was over many years, but it was very life-changing. And I went to this group in St. Louis, found a group of people that supported me, and then made good friends through there.
Had you had your surgery at this time?
Yes, I was through I got through my surgery, went to the group because I had to figure out what was going on. What did I experience that nobody could relate to? Mm-hmm. And so I went to this group, and they all calmed me down, said, "You're okay, you're okay. We've all been through similar things, so don't worry, you're not crazy. People might tell you you're crazy, but you're not crazy." And so it was a really good, solid group to get involved with, and it was called IONS, International Association for Near-Death Studies.
Oh.
And that's
so then it transitioned into the Spirituality and Health Center for Aging and End of Life, or are they a commingling of the two?
Commingling. A friend of mine that I met in St. Louis, we came together, and he had given some conferences and things like that, but he was looking for a place to have a home, to have a facility to do this all the time. And I said, Pat Johnson is his name, he lives in Wimberley. I said, we need to go to the Institute, and I think they'll accommodate us, and we can work together. And all those people at the medical center that felt like I did, that they needed help to ground themselves again, we can bring those people in, or just, have some programming where they can come and listen, and doctors should listen, nurses should listen, hospice people should listen. Everyone should understand, that these are real for people, and you shouldn't chastise them. You should help them. And I said, I think this is a place that we might want to do this. And so we've been doing it for, I guess, about 5-6 years now.
And I think that's where we in the medical field have blurred lines sometimes, because, you have this condition called hypochondriacs, right? Where people think that that there's actually medically something wrong with them. They've got a terminal illness. They've got every disease known to man. And they unfortunately, it's a mental health condition that tends to bog down the medical system. But at the same time, I think it negates the people who have true bona fide symptoms or true potential life-threatening illnesses. And that's where sometimes it might get misconstrued or misunderstood.
I think so. I think that it's important for doctors to try to engage with some of the things that we do at the center. We don't see as many doctors as we'd like. We know they're very busy. They have,
of course, yes.
It's really difficult for them to plug in, but maybe their staff would be able to plug in. But what we do is we encourage people to come learn about how these things happen, and we also encourage people to come and listen to the stories of people that have been through a life-changing event
that they could perhaps one day use for themselves if they start experiencing something that is,
in their own practice.
In their own practice.
Yeah.
What about people, everyday people who want to come and say, nothing's really happened to me, but maybe I had something possibly similar happen to a friend, and I want to become more aware to help more people, direct them, if needed. I personally had an experience where I had a coworker, and where I work at the hospital, at the VA hospital as a palliative care nurse, and she would always come up and she'd say, "Oh, my back hurts. In the middle of my back hurts. Will you rub it?" So while we're on report, walking around the hall, I'm rubbing her upper right side of her back, and then I started noticing, and she started to lose weight. And I said, "Connie," I said, are you not eating?" And she's like, "Well, it hurts when I eat." She goes, "But I'm going to the gastroenterologist, and they're going to do a GI workup for me." And I said, "Okay." So she goes to the GI doctor, and they do a full workup. They check her stomach, they check her pancreas, they check her spleen and her liver. Everything is fine. but she's still experiencing this uncomfortable pain when she eats, and she didn't understand it. And she would still have this pain in her back, but it wasn't in the back per se. It was more in the upper right quadrant of her back. And every now and then she would pound it with your fist, and, make light pounding on my back. Oh, that feels so good. And now a year has passed. And she's gone to the doctors. She's, tried to figure out. She just figured that this is going to be her life, that she's going to have to live with this pain. She's altered the way she eats. She's lost, as much weight as she could at that point to now she's in a sustainability state, right? But still having that uncomfortable pain. And one day she came to work, and she came up and she just kind of whispered in a giggling way. She's like, I had to take my bra off. She said, because my back was hurting. It was irritating. She goes, so she was just laughing and giggling because she didn't have a bra on. And at that time, I was able to, comfort her by rubbing her back. I just rubbed her back, and I said, oh, it's going to be okay. I'll be the only one that knows, right? And all of a sudden, I kind of felt an oddity that was masked by her bra strap.
Wow.
And I said, we need to go into the break room. I need to look at your back. I said, Connie, you have a mass back here. And come to find out, she had a tumor that was growing in her spinal column. And it had wrapped within the nerves. And the nerves and the part of the vertebrae that the tumor was at is the nerves that were signaled or, tied to her stomach and her spleen and her pancreas. And that's why she was getting the pain in those organs.
Interesting.
Because the tumor was compressing those nerves that sent those signals back and forth to those specific organs. And it had she not come to me that day, the doctor said she was weeks away from her spinal column completely collapsing on itself and being paralyzed. And she immediately went into surgery. She had a rod put in her back, and she managed to live another 7 years until the cancer eventually metastasized and took her life. But again, to me, it was like, how did I know this? To be more aware and compassionate to what she was going through. But was there a force outside that I wasn't aware of that led us to that moment that kept her from having this total paralysis in a couple of weeks? The way everything unfolded unsettled me a little bit too.
Well, yeah. So you understand what it's like when people have an issue and they can't communicate it. And it's tough sometimes. It's really tough to find a diagnosis. It's really tough.
It's tough to find a diagnosis, and at the same time, it's this fine line where you don't want people to think that, oh, I have a pain in my back, I got to go to the doctor, or I can't see color anymore because they're hearing our story, and now they're going to run and think they have a brain tumor. So it's like, where do you help unblur the lines, right? Where we're not telling somebody if they have pain in their back that they have a tumor, or pain in their stomach they have tumor, or they lose color vision they've got a brain tumor. It's like it's just a delicate dance, don't you think?
Oh, it is. It is, and it's even more delicate, I think, when it comes to paranormal sort of things, where you have something happen, you do communicate it, and you're kind of brushed off. I mean, that happened to me. As soon as my surgery was over, I saw my primary care physician, and I tried to explain to him what happened. And I said, I really had this incredible transformative sort of experience. And he says, oh, it was just a hallucination. And I said, no, I don't think so. But he really wasn't open to listening to what I had to say. Well, and for a reason. I mean, it wasn't his specialty. His specialty was
I think another, to elaborate on that is doctors are I don't want to say all doctors are, but you have your holistic medical practice, you have your specialty practices. The healthcare providers in general are very heavy in the sciences.
Yes.
And paranormal is outside the sciences. It's really hard to prove, and you can't recreate it time and time again.
And that's why we have the Institute, so people can come and they can understand what happened to them. And one of the most amazing things is when we actually have a doctor that has been through this, and they come and they open up. And there's a doctor, Dr. Mary Neal, and she almost drowned in a kayak accident in, I think, South America or somewhere like that. And her whole story is amazing, and she wrote a book about it. And those are the kind of people we like to try and bring, so that it kind of breaks down those walls and those barriers for doctors to understand that even though they may not be well versed in some of these things that are happening that they consider to be paranormal or mystical or outside the bounds of their expertise, they still need to know that it's there, and they still need to know that people need help, and they still need to know where to send them.
And sometimes they need to know where to look.
Yes.
in the human body itself, yes. On the patient themselves. Yes. I always tell people, nobody knows your body better than you.
That's true.
You know, a doctor sees hundreds of patients, maybe 15 to 20 minutes at the most.
It's fast and furious.
Exactly. And they have no time to learn or understand and know your body. And they don't have the time for your whole backstory.
There is not a code on their sheet for NDE.
No, there isn't. That would be nice.
They don't have that. Some of the chaplains might, but the doctors definitely don't. But, the whole thing is it's a wonderful thing to have this experience, and it's a burdensome thing in many ways, because you just really have so much you want to express, and the outlet that the Institute has given people that have NDEs to come and tell their stories and be validated and, just feel accepted is a wonderful thing. And we encourage all kinds of people to contact us, even one-on-one. We talk to people.
So is your one-on-one basically perhaps maybe somebody who's just starting out and not comfortable on how to express their experience?
Yes. A lot of people will come that have had NDEs that will sit in the meeting, and we're doing a lot of it virtually now.
Oh, very nice.
Because of COVID. Right as we started, COVID broke out, and so we immediately pivoted to Zoom, and we've kind of stayed there. But at some point in time, I hope we get back to some in-person meetings, because they're wonderful, and probably more like a hybrid meeting where you have people in the room, and then you also have a guest speaker come in, through Zoom or some other meeting.
So do you have in-person meetings today available?
We haven't had one in a while. Okay. And that's why some of the one-on-one comes into play. But the one-on-one, it's usually a pretty special sort of a thing where people just really feel for the moment like they need to talk to somebody that has had this experience. And Pat, my cohort, Pat Johnson, is wonderful at talking to people.
Now, are these psychologists they're talking to, or are they just everyday people that had the experience, and because of their experiences, they're able to help guide somebody else through it?
They're lay people that have had the experience, and every once in a while we have somebody that is a professional, but they rarely do a one-on-one through our group.
So if I were to go there, is there a cost involved for me to be a part of this group? Anything like that?
Well, you can give a donation, which is very, very appreciated. When you sign up, you register online, and then you can give a donation. And that's really appreciated, because, people put a lot of work into getting the word out and coordinating it and all that. But if you don't have the means to give at that time, you don't have to do that. It's free.
That's very good. And I think that's very important for our listeners to know, that this is a service for them, set apart from everything else they might be going through.
And I would encourage people who are the spouse of someone that has had an NDE, I would encourage them to reach out and either go to a meeting or talk to other NDEers and just help them understand that person is changed, because that can be difficult for a spouse to have somebody change so drastically from being, somebody that's maybe hard charging and very corporate like, to all of a sudden instantly becoming, empathetic and just very, very different person.
Kind of like an introvert, a recluse. Do you see that kind of evolving into these type of people, or?
I see you as more of a mission-driven person that wants to make the world a better place, wants to find a way to help people make the world a better place.
So that's interesting that you bring out that interpretation of what an NDE is, right? So why do you say that now it's a mission to help people and make the world a better place?
Well, I can only speak from my experience, but during my experience, during my NDE, I felt very strongly, was made to feel that anything that we did to intentionally hurt someone would come back and be our pain on the other side.
Karma, kind of?
I don't know if it's karma. Some people think you're going to be judged after you die.
Okay.
And I found that it was very loving, and you judged yourself by feeling what you had done to other people intentionally to make pain.
So could we interpret that as guilt?
I don't know if it's guilt. It's just accountability. It's finally being accountable for things you did that were not loving and kind. And I think it makes you kind of embarrassed that you did some of the things you did in life. And then you go back, once you survive that and go back to life, you don't want people to feel that. You don't want anybody to feel what you felt. There's a kind of a shame that you feel that you weren't more loving in the world.
Do you at any time feel that the condition that you were subjected to, the experiences that you had, were at any way interpreted as a form of punishment towards yourself or for what
No.
you didn't do in life?
No, not punishment at all. As a matter of fact, I interpret it as a gift to turn you around and to help you understand that you need to live a different life in a very, very powerful way.
So walk me, if you can, kind of like let's take a short walk. What do you think your life was like before your near-death experience, and how has it changed after? Since you're speaking that you're living a better life, were you a bad person before, or is that what you felt about yourself before, during, and after your near-death experience?
I was an extreme workaholic before I had my experience. So much so that, I was hardly ever home. My husband was taking courses in college and trying to get computer skills under his belt. And I mean, it was brutal what I was put through in post-production work in television. It was very, very brutal. I would go in at 9 o'clock in the morning and not know when I'd come home sometimes for a day or two. And so, that was me before, kind of shutting out everything. And I'm sure there's a lot of reasons for that, but I don't know that we have time to go into all that. But that was me before. And then afterwards, if I was walking across the street, and I saw somebody that was in trouble, I would drop everything, whatever I was doing. And I think I probably would have done that before also in dire circumstances, but I felt my heart change. My heart was different. I was harder before the NDE. I was the hard-charging person, I guess. And
so you were probably just so focused and career-driven that you had blinders on. You didn't see what was going on in the world around you.
Yes.
And you didn't care what was going on around you.
It was all about the deadline.
Yeah.
Whatever the deadline was. And then there was a person that came in after that deadline, and then another deadline, and then another deadline, and then another one. And it was exhausting over time, and it turned you into kind of like a robot.
So the near-death experience now, I think, really made you blossom into a almost like a different person that now you were living, you talked about how you were losing the color in your life. And I can see that almost as symbolic as to the type of person you were then, right? Mm-hmm. Very black and white, very career-driven, very focused, little color in your life, both physically and literally, right? And now that you've had this near-death experience, your life is now in full color, and you're seeing more vibrancy to life, and that there's more to life than just working, right?
Well, it opens you up. I mean, you just like, and blossom is a good word. It just opens you up to be more loving, more caring to everyone that you can possibly help.
It creates an awareness that so many of us have yet to experience, if we ever will.
It is just so, I can't say how extreme it was. It was just so life altering. And it lives with you every single day. And you spread it however you can, in 1,000 different little ways.
So do you liken it to a second chance at life?
I do. And not only a second chance, but a better chance. And I'm so grateful when you say, was it a punishment? I am grateful that I went through that so that I could become more open to what life should be.
And more human and less like a robot, right?
Yes. Oh, yes. We all get that way at times, but it's just an amazing an experience. I wish everybody could have it. I wish we could all do it. And I know people do get stuck. There's a lot of people out there with PTSD, and they're trying to get this new drug out that kind of opens you up. And I think it's MSMB or something. I forget exactly. It's basically what we used to call, when I was younger, ecstasy.
Oh, wow. So now we're trying to legalize it, huh?
Not legalize it.
Or just make it
available through a psychiatrist.
Got it. Oh, interesting.
And so that, they say that opens up people to where, they lose their PTSD. It kind of reminds me of that.
Is there any sense of vulnerability associated with that new openness that you are experiencing?
Oh,
now?
Yes. Vulnerability, yes. You can open yourself up so much that you can be taken advantage of, and that does happen. And you have to just expect that, and then not get bitter over it too much. You have to catch yourself when you're getting better and go, that's just life.
Yeah.
That's just life. Go to the next thing.
Yeah, I think that's very important for people who are experiencing these feelings, these emotions, this new profound awareness that they may not be able to describe, that we're trying to help them understand through this episode, that they also are in tune to the fact that they are now more vulnerable than they were, and to be keenly aware of that, so that as they're going through this new journey that they are finding themselves on, that they can be taken advantage of.
I will say, though, that there's another dichotomy. There's something that happens to you immediately after the experience that you have to be very careful about. And I tell this to people all the time as new NDEers. I say, don't get prideful. Don't think you're special. Don't think you're a guru. Don't think that you're the chosen one. This happens to lots and lots and lots of people. It's a human experience. Don't exploit people with it. Don't do anything that lets your pride get out of control. And that's when I talk about regrounding yourself. That's what I'm talking about, because right after it happens, you can feel so special. You're made to feel so special that you just need to be careful with that, if that makes sense.
So it's almost like this gift you've been given at a second chance of life. You might feel like, wow, I cheated death in that moment, which empowers you now, right? But it's a power that can get away from you.
It's not really cheating death. It's having all this incredible love just inserted and placed into your whole being, and it makes you feel like that nobody else has gotten it but yourself.
Oh, so you feel like, yes. So
yeah.
I now I understand.
Right. And so, you're just so mesmerized with the experience, and you think that so kind of like you walk out of it kind of feeling like Superman with a cape on or something.
Wow.
And you need to tamp that down, because you're not special. Lots of other people have been through this, and you just need to understand how to throttle it back.
You got to find that kryptonite.
Yeah, just maybe a little tiny piece.
Just a tiny dose of it, right?
Yeah,
yes.
Because you can think too much of yourself after something like that. You really should not do that.
That's interesting concept that I was not aware of before. learning so much from you about near-death experiences. And is it safe to say that the near-death experiences, like grief, has many faces? Near-death experiences also has many faces. There's different types of it. It's the general term of near-death experience, but there's different. I guess maybe, is it a level? Is it an experience? Is it a type?
I believe it's custom made for you, and not totally custom made. I think that this void that I went into in the very beginning, where I was very frightened, and then I had different things happen to me after that relieved me of that fright, and then completely turned around the experience to be something, incredibly loving and wonderful. But in the beginning, you felt very lost, like, somebody, a little child in the forest. And certain things happened. I mean, I could go for hours telling you what happened. We don't have all that much time. But it is it's just so transformative.
So you said that yours transitioned over time, where some people it's very sudden or immediate. So are you saying that? I'm thinking, like, in a near-death experience, that someone has like a heart attack or a car accident, where their life flashes before you, as we've been told. Mm-hmm. Yours was elongated. So
my condition was elongated.
Okay.
My NDE happened over a period of minutes or maybe an hour. In one particular night, I was having out-of-body experiences. I got up, and usually I could shake them off. I got up, and what happened was I felt like I wasn't shaking this one off. And my body felt like it was shutting down. And I can give you all kinds of reasons why that was probably happening, but it was shutting down. And I was like, I don't want to die. I don't want to die. I don't want to die. I have a daughter. And I was fighting, saying, no, no, no. And all of a sudden I was in this black place. And I went from that black place to understanding that I was in a different realm, I suppose. And
all this is taking place in your bedroom?
In my bedroom, while my husband's asleep in the bed. I get up, I go to the bathroom. I flip on the light, everything goes dark while I'm standing there. So,
and this is because of your eye condition?
I don't know. I can't really tell you. It was something. No, I don't believe so. I don't think that was it.
You think it was more part of the near-death experience?
It was a mystical thing, it felt like.
Yes, kind of like an aura.
Taken somewhere else, as I felt like I was dying.
Got it.
And so I went through different phases. One phase was falling into something that felt like a father, falling into the arms of a father, like I was a baby. And this is all, when I say people can't relate to it, it's very difficult to convey. But I fell into the arms, and then I was given all of this validation, told that I was loved, cherished, too hard on myself, and it felt very Christ-like. But I tell people there were no name tags. Nobody had a name tag over there. But it felt.
Any familiar faces?
Yes. I went from that experience where I was being held to an experience where we both looked down on this particular incident that happened in my life that I needed to go back and deal with. Okay, and so we looked down on that, and I wasn't quite sure why we were looking. It was like watching a movie. And then from that point, I moved to a white room, and these orbs of light swirled all around me and took all of the hurt, all the pain, everything that was bad that ever happened to me in my life. It took it all away. And then I was standing there in this white room, and they said, "Do you want to stay?" And I said, "Well, I have a daughter." And the instant that I said I had a daughter, I was back in my bathroom, and the darkness went away.
So, in essence, life did flash in front of your eyes to some degree.
To a degree, there was a slight life review for me. Some people have much, much more of a life review.
I like that saying, life review, instead of the flashing of your life. Yes, I really like that.
Right.
So from the time that you left the white room, went back into your bathroom, from that moment until the doctors found your tumor, what was that time frame?
It was about, I would say probably 3 weeks,
Wow.
something like that. And I was terrified. I did not want anybody to cut on my head. I did not want anybody to open up my skull. I was terrified that I would be paralyzed, but it all came together and made me a way different person, a better person.
Did you have any experiences during the surgical procedures?
No.
Because you hear some people do have those experiences.
No, it was black. I was gone. And one minute I was out, the next minute I was up, and they were wheeling me down the hallway. I was going to recovery, and I was just elated that I made it through the surgery, because it was not an easy one.
Mm-hmm. I can imagine.
And they put me into the recovery room, and it was very noisy. They had all the beeping and booping of all of the heart
Machines,
monitors, everything.
yeah.
And there was one moment in the middle of the night that was incredible, when every single heart in the room beat in sync.
Wow.
There were probably 18 of us, and everybody was beating together, and it was both a huge relief and a wonderful thing to hear everybody beating together.
It was almost in that moment, I think that maybe that level of humanistic connection was created.
Well, it was just very special. I don't know exactly why it happened, but for me, it was kind of just a symbol of what it would be like if we all worked to do the best for everybody that we could.
Wow, that is truly amazing. I like you said, we could talk about this for hours. There's so many questions I have and that you create just talking and telling your story.
And I'm just one person.
Exactly. Can you imagine?
There's and a lot of NDEers write books, and they're very interesting to read. And that's one of the things that happened to me, is I read everything I could get my hands on after I had my NDE. I was just voracious, trying to figure out what is going on here, and it's just something that you kind of live with, and you smile every once in a while, and you're glad it happened, but not happy the way you had to come to face with this.
Well, I'm definitely going to recommend my nephew to this because he also had an NDE. So he had a heart surgery. He was born with, we call it a backwards heart, basically. Spent many years in the medical hospitals throughout, and it was one of his last major do-or-die surgeries that we had to have performed for him. And he said that his mother, who passed before him, she died of breast cancer. He said that when he was on the table, he got to see his mom.
Oh.
And she told him it wasn't his time yet.
Mm-hmm. I've heard that. Well, earlier before we started recording, I told you that I read something this morning, and what I read said, it's in the Old Testament. It's in Exodus, and it speaks of Moses. And it talks about how when Moses was on the mountain with God, God told him, he said, the scripture says you cannot see the face of God and live. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people that have had NDEs feel like they've seen the face of God. And they did live. But what the scripture means is that you can't live the way you did before.
And it's interesting you say that, because he came back and told us the story of his experience. And I've always, I look at him, he wasn't expected to live his first 24 hours of life, and now he's in his 30s. And he's got to be the most innocent, beautiful soul that I have ever encountered. And my stepmother, which is his grandmother, became his second mom, because after my sister passed away, my father and stepmother took care of him for his entire life. And she'd been there since the day he was born. And when she passed away a couple of years ago from a heart attack, I was more shaken and concerned for his reaction to the loss of his grandma, which was like his second mom. To lose two mother figures in your life like that, I was so concerned for him. And I remember at the funeral, he radiated this sense of peace that I cannot relate to.
Well, he lived on the edge of death for a very long time.
Yes.
And that changes you as a person.
I went up to him and I said, "Are you okay? I mean, do you need to talk?" And he said, "No, I'm fine." And in that moment, I thought, he's experienced death in ways that I've never experienced.
That's right.
He's experienced it himself, to know that this sense of peace exists, that death does not create any fear in him for himself nor those who die around him. And it gives me a sense of peace, but at the same time, a profound sense of curiosity.
Well, yes, I would say that somebody like this young man, and many indie ears as well, we don't smile when people die because there's so much pain and crying all around us, but inside we know that something beautiful is probably happening to that person.
Because perhaps we are at peace knowing their suffering has ended.
That as well.
And that they're even though we would love to keep them here with us because we're selfish. We're selfish people. Yeah. we want to hold on to them forever. Yes. But they are at a more peaceful place.
Indie ears feel that more than anyone else. They feel that they almost relive the experience they had, and they envision their loved one being in that special place. And there's two things that they'll see. They'll see light, beautiful, beautiful light. And inside that light is a living love. It's not just light. It's a being of light with love that wraps all around you. And you feel that. You feel that your loved one is in that place.
And so when we talk about this light and this love, it's more of almost like an energy that our souls currently exist upon, is what I would interpret it to be. This has nothing to do with religion, and it instinctively has to do with the way we live and the energies that we all possess within us. Was that safe to say?
I think so. I think that, what I experienced was a bolt of energy that was full of love. And I tell people that it pierced me and went all through me into every atom of my body, vibrating it with this just unbelievable love. And it's very hard to express it, but there was so much of it at one point, I asked for it to stop. I said, I'm full, the cup is flowing over.
And now you are a testament to this near-death experience that not only did it bring you to a greater love, but it's giving you the love to share with others.
I hope so. I try every day. It's not easy sometimes.
Of course, yes. We don't live in easy times, and people are cruel, and we all know that. But at the end of the day, we all want love. We all want peace. And if these near-death experiences can shed some type of light on what our true purpose is here on earth, that we may all be able to learn to love thy neighbor, appreciate the life that we've been given, and know that one day we all will hopefully meet that light and love that you are all talking about. So, Kathy, again, thank you so much. Is there a website to the organization that people can go to?
You can find our website at spiritualityandhealth.org, and we welcome all.
Thank you. Thank you for joining me today on this podcast, and I hope that you will share this episode and our future episodes with family and friends. We look forward to any feedback you have to offer by giving us a review on Apple or Spotify. And we hope that you will join us for a virtual tour at www.nmfh.org. And always remember, any day above ground is a good one.